Hi friends, welcome to this session. My name is Yogesh. In this session we are going to discuss on the steps to be followed for installing Red Hat or CentOS 7 on VMware platform. Your VMware platform may be your lab setup or your enterprise ESX version. So I'm logged on to my workstation 12 Pro. Just clicking on create new virtual machine. Here I'm choosing custom because I want to customize it. I don't want to go with default options. Next. So hardware compatibility, I'm leaving it to default, which is 12.0. Next. I'm clicking here. I will install the operating system later. That's the only reason I'm choosing this option, because I want to explain it better. Otherwise I can choose ISO image now, but I want to take you through complete steps, so I'm choosing I will install operating system later. Next. So what operating system? It is Linux. Yep, it's Linux. That's a CentOS 64-bit. Yep, that's fine. Otherwise, if you are installing Red Hat, so what I recommend from this options, choose Red Hat 764-bit. If that's 32-bit, just because Red Hat 7 only 64-bit is supported on this particular platform, so 64-bit is appearing. But in our case, it's CentOS, which is already chosen. So I'm clicking next here. Or I'm making it CentOS 7 lab box. That's your VM name, or that's basically container name, you can say. And where you want to save this file, I will save it in one of the file system which got enough space. So I will create a new folder in this file system. My CentOS 7, sorry for typo, CentOS 7 VM. I'm just naming. You can choose a name as per your requirements. Okay, so this VM will be installed in this particular path, in this particular folder. Clicking next. So number of processors. So Red Hat 7 or CentOS 7 can work with single processor. That's a hyper threading on my system. So I'm choosing single processor with 2 cores. Next. And memory. So I'm choosing 1 GB. This particular installation can work with 700 MB RAM, but I'm choosing 1 GB, which is default. Next. Here, this is networking information. So here I'm choosing I will use host only networking. Next. I'm leaving controller to default, which is LSA logic, and that's recommended by VMware, so I'm not changing it. Next. SCSI recommended, yeah, go with SCSI. And now, do you want to create new disk, or you want to use existing disk, or you want to use physical disk? So I want to create new disk. This is new installation. So I'm choosing disk size 15 GB or 16 GB. I'm choosing this size 16 GB. You can choose minimum need to be 8 GB, but I'm choosing 16 GB for this experimental purpose. And here I'm choose a single file. I don't want multiple files to be created with different disk sizes. Next. And this is the VMDK. This is a disk where all data will be written. VMDK mean virtual machine disk. Next. And finish. Okay, so this container is created basically. Now next step, I will edit this virtual machine setting. Here my network controller is host only. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just validating configuration. I don't need printer. I'm just removing it. That printer port, I don't need sound card on this virtual machine. I'm removing it. So this is the configuration. Clicking OK. So friends, here I'm mapping my ISO image because I have to install operating system now. I'm clicking on CD DVD. If you want to use your laptop CD or DVD drive, then you can choose this option. Otherwise, if you have ISO image, you can map your ISO image here. I clicked use ISO image, then I'm browsing it. I got my CentOS 7 ISO image here. I'm just clicking here. So this image is mapped. And if you see, it is connect at power on. When this VM power on, it will automatically get connected. Okay. So my ISO image is connected. So friends, our container is ready. Container mean you can say your hardware is ready. Now next step, we have to install operating system. So first thing, I'm powering on this machine. So I'm going into BIOS by pressing F2. Here that's tricky, it comes quickly. Okay, I am in BIOS now. So first thing, I have to boot from CD-ROM. So if you see, like, this is the default window which you will get. Just with arrow keys, right arrow key, I am in boot option. Now with down arrow key, I am on CD-ROM. Pressing plus to make CD-ROM as my first bootable device, then hard drive as second. Pressing F10 now to save the settings. So settings are saved. Now system is booting from ISO image, or you can say CD. So here with up arrow key, I came to install CentOS 7, and if you see that's highlighted now, it's complete white, it means highlighted. Pressing enter, so it is saying press enter to begin installation. I press enter again. It is starting the installer now, which is Anaconda. Okay, so friends, this is the language. So English, United States, that's the default language, and that's a preferred one. I'm clicking continue. And now date and time. So right now I am in Sydney, so I'm choosing Sydney time zone. I'm in Sydney, Australia, Sydney. And here option if you want to use time sync or not. Yep, we will check it later. So this is done. Clicking done. Now language support, we already selected United States English. Yeah, that's fine. This is keyboard, which is default. That depend upon the language which you select. Then security policy, I am setting it. I don't want to use any profile. This is new installation. Software installation source, that's local media, that's came by default. Then software selection, minimal install. So here, if you want to use this machine as web server, basic web server, you can select these backup server or guest agent. So I am installing it as infrastructure server now. That's my requirement, but depending on your requirement, you can customize your packages. So I am selecting here, I want to use it as infrastructure server. One thing, I want NFS client, which is a basic necessity. I want to mount NFS file systems on this one. Then here I want to install all compatibility libraries, and I want development tool which are used by developers to compile or recompile their binaries. So that's the basic things I'm selecting. As I said, you can customize. If you want to configure this server as FTP server, you can select this option. If email server, select this option, just tick it and that's selected. I'm unselecting, I don't want it. So that's up to you how you want to use this particular machine. So clicking done now. Okay, so here I'm just scrolling down here. Now this is the main bit, installation destination. Here you have to create partition on your disk drives. I have clicked here, installation destination, and this is a 16 GB disk, which is a pairing which we created during container creation step. So this disk is selected. If you see this tick, it means it is selected. And here the partitioning. For partitioning, what I have to do, I'm just choosing done. This disk is selected. I'm choosing done now. I've already clicked it, taking time. Okay, so K dump is basically kernel dump. And friends, I have not, okay, if you want to create partitions on this one, here is option I will configure partitioning. So I'm selecting this option. Selected disk, I will configure partitioning. Selected this one, done. So this will allow to create partition on this particular drive. And here I want to use LVM. Okay, so plus is to add partition. First thing, I will add boot partition, and recommended size is minimum 200 MB. So I'm selecting 200 M. Add mount point. Okay, so here device type, here I'm selecting standard partition. Standard partition mean it is not under LVM. File system type, which is default XFS on Redhat 7. I am leaving it to XFS. I don't want to use old file systems type, so leaving it to XFS. Okay, so this partition is created. Now again I am clicking on plus symbol. Then mount point, I am selecting root, and I want root on this system to be, let's say I want to keep it 4 GB, and enter 4G. Add mount point. Here device type LVM. Yep. So what's the volume group name you want? So by default it came CentOS. If you want to modify it, just click modify. If you want to choose your some custom name like root VG or whatever, so that's up to you. I'm leaving it default, and this is a name of logical volume, LV. So you can choose your you can choose name as per your requirements or as per standards or SOE if you got. So this is the 4 GB partition created in LVM. LV basically not partition. Clicking plus. I want to add var file system as separate. So here I'm selecting var to be 2 GB. Add mount point. And same thing here. I'm not changing anything. Leaving it to default. Up to you. Then I want /USR separate. Here it is not listed, but I can always mention. I want USR to be separate file system. That's up to you how you want to proceed. What's your standard in your setup? I'm setting USR to 6 GB. Add mount point. After this one, I got 4 GB free. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add swap. Swap, usually in old days it was ruled to be double of your physical memory, but now that calculation is not valid because systems comes with a huge amount of physical memory. So if I'm setting it to 1 GB, that's my virtual platform. I'm sure it will swap because I added only 1 GB virtual memory, or you can say. So I'm just adding 1 GB swap. Now 3 GB space is remaining. I'm adding home partition for 1 GB. And here approximate 2 GB space is free. I can use it later whenever required, so I'm leaving it free. Clicking on done. So my partitioning is done. And here accept changes. It will write changes to the disk. And now network and host name. So this is the default naming scheme, which is picked by ENO 167777736. And I can allocate IP here, or I can assign it later. Here I want to host name CentOS 7 lab. That's my system name. I have to, recommendation is to put domain name at the end. openhome.sky, whatever your domain name. openhome.sky. This is my test FQDN name. Here you can configure interface here if you want to configure. Here if you want to specify IP in IPv4 setting. So if you want to add IP, click here method. First change the method. I want to allocate static IP here. So static, here it means manual. Manual means static. Then click on add. 198.168.1.100. Net mask is 24. 24 means 255.255.255.0 and gateway 192.168.1.1. and I am going to choose Google's public DNS server as my DNS server. Search domain, we can leave it empty because I don't have any search domain. Clicking on save button. So friends, IP address setup is done. If you see, I am cross checking, configuration is saved, clicking on save button and done. So friends, our configuration part is done. Now we can begin our installation. So simply click on begin installation button. And installation is actually started. If you see, it is labeling the drive, it is creating file system here. If you see this particular bit, it is creating a XFS on the LVs which we just created. And now it is starting package installation. This package installation depends what software selection you did in that particular phase. So we choose infrastructure server with the NFS client and the development utilities. So now while installation is going, you can set your root password. So click here, root password. So I'm setting root password. You can set as per your standards. I set very simple password, and it is installer is asking me that's very weak password, but I'm happy that's my lab setup. I'm not much worried about password. I'm clicking done. So my root password is set. If you want to create any additional user, you can create it now, but this is my lab setup. I don't want any additional user to be created. I'm using root. Up to you. If that's a production server, you got some system user or some infrastructure management user, let's say your monitoring user or your automation user, you can create it here. Or if you got SOE or some automation script which you want to use for this particular stuff, up to you. So if you see here, out of 596 RPMs, 6970 they are getting installed. So they are getting installed very quickly. So I'm just pausing my video, so let it finish the installation process. And friends, this whole video is on CentOS 7. If you are installing Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, steps are 100% same because I installed Red Hat 7 multiple times. There is no difference, only this particular logo is different. Instead of CentOS 7, you will be able to see Red Hat Enterprise Linux and different color scheme. That's it. So process is same. So now kernel is getting installed. I believe in a couple of minutes installation will finish. It's going on at good speed. Okay, so all packages are installed. Now installer is doing post installation setup task. If you see here, performing post installation setup tasks. Okay, so post installation tasks are completed and our setup is completed. So last thing, just reboot your system and your installation is done. Click on reboot. And friends, keep in mind we have to make hard disk as first bootable device now. I'm just pressed F2, and I'm in boot menu now. I'm making hard drive as my first bootable device. I don't want to boot from CD now. F10 to save. Press enter. Yes. So system will boot from this is the grub of Red Hat 7. And now this is our first boot. Please keep one thing in mind, that is only a base installation. So you may need to perform hardening to make your system secure. In your setup, maybe you got some SOE. By following that, you can perform hardening on your system. If not, you can always follow CIS hardening recommendation. I am repeating CIS. So let's system boot. Okay friends, so this is the welcome screen. I am logging in with root password which I set during installation. Okay friends, so I'm just running df. These were the partitions which we created during installation time, and let's verify network configuration. I can use IP header command to check IP addresses. So this is the IP information. If you see IP information not came here, so that's the other issue. To manually assign IP, just do cd etc sysconfig network scripts and then vi if cfg dash eno. This is the interface file which is created by default. If you see, all information is here. I'm not sure why IP not enabled by default. Can you notice why interface is not showing IP, whether configuration is having all information? Okay, so friends, just keep in mind on boot is set to no, which is default. So first time you have to enable it. I'm just changing it from no to yes. Okay, so it's saved. Now I will restart my network service. To restart network service, system ctl restart network dot service, enter. So network service is restarted. So let's verify IP header. If you see, IP is there on interface now. Netstat -nr to check routing information. Yeah, it got correct gateway address here, 192.168.1.1, this one. So friends, this server should be on network now. Now let's connect to this server using PuTTY or any terminal emulator software which we are using. So I'm using MoboXTrum here. So as you remember, we set IP to 192.168.1.100. I'm connecting as root user. Okay, so password. Not accepted password. I'm re-entering. I think again I typed something incorrect. Why? I'm trying it again, friends. Friends, I believe I am typing wrong password. Let me try last time, otherwise we will okay. So this time password worked. I was trying wrong password. So if you see on my screen, we are logged on to server now. And let's check DNS client configuration, which is for DNS client resolve.conf, as we entered during installation time 8.8.8.8, which is Google's DNS server we are using. So let's run any name lookup. Let's say I'm typing gmail.com, and let's look up gmail.com. It got resolved. It means our DNS service is working. So friends, that is basic installation. As I discussed earlier, if you want to harden your system, and I am sure that you would like, and that's recommendation to harden your system. Don't leave it open for external persons to log in and destroy or damage your system. So do hardening. Follow CIS guidelines to harden your system. And in other videos, I will discuss how you can change naming scheme, how you can expand file system, how you can configure NTP. So a lot of stuff I will discussing in other videos. And thanks for watching this video. If you have any question or any suggestion, just leave a comment on my YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, friends. Bye bye.